So recently on my TikTok page, I started this discussion about that I feel like a lot of anime fans don't know what an actual underrated anime is. And this mainly came from I watched a recommendation video on TikTok and somebody was recommending like romance anime or something like that. And the person proceeded to just recommend all the popular stuff. And like I've seen that multiple times when I see somebody recommend underrated anime. It's always something that was like popular. So it's made me just want to make videos and talk about people in the anime community just don't know what's an actual underrated anime or what is an actual underrated anime, and that's what I kind of want to discuss in the video and just talk about some of the criteria that you should look for or to see if something actually counts as an underrated anime. And trust me, I got a list right here of some of the stuff I saw in my video that people were leaving comments of, because even in that video on TikTok, people were leaving comments of stuff that actually wasn't underrated. It's just they might think is because I mean it's all still opinion based. Like everything about what underrated anime is opinion based. There's some facts to it, especially if it's a popular anime that's been hella popular for years, or if it's like a cult classic type of anime that's everybody knows about type of thing. But like I said, still it's hella opinion based, so take everything I say I guess with a grain of salt, because it's all just my opinion. I could have a bad opinion, but I said there's still some factual to certain stuff because you can look at stats and other type of research if you actually want to look into stuff. But here goes some of the questions that I have that I feel like people say a lot. I'm just gonna go out and talk about these, and then we're getting into like my criteria of like how I pick if an anime is actually underrated or not. But let's get into some of the stuff I've seen people say. So some of the stuff I've seen is somebody asked, does it have to be an older anime or a newer anime? And to answer that question, that's literally like it doesn't matter. It can be any type of anime, because I can literally give you an anime from this season that's underrated, and I can give you an anime from like back in the day that's underrated. So like it doesn't matter if the anime is newer or older. It just depends on like, is it getting talked about, and the other type of stuff that I'll get into later. But so I've seen people say, does it have to not be popular? That depends. Like that one just depends on how unpopular it is, I guess you could say. And another one is it just underrated because you've seen it? Like that's a big one, because I've seen a lot of people will call it anime underrated because they just saw the anime. And they will call it underrated because they just saw it, and maybe they got out of just watching a certain genre and finally saw this, randomly picked this anime, and they'll say it's underrated. But then you actually look at the anime and you'll be like, this shit ain't underrated. So yes, I've seen that a lot. And another one is it only underrated because it's not a popular shonen anime? I've seen that a lot too, because you know there's a lot of people that only watch battle shonens or other like super popular anime, but then as soon as they watch something that's not something they see like people in their friend group or people around them talking about, they call it underrated. I've seen that so damn much, especially on TikTok and even on YouTube. I've seen that a lot too. Now, another one is, does it have a bad rating? Now that one is fair, because in my opinion, there's a lot of anime that have not the right ratings, especially if you go on My Anime List or all these other anime sites that basically, you know, they leave ratings and stuff. There's a lot of people on there that only watch like one episode or something like that, and like they rate an anime badly, or if they see one thing they don't like, they rate it badly. So that's why I say there's a lot of anime on those, especially on My Anime List, because My Anime List doesn't have people, in my opinion, that give out fair reviews. They most of the time theirs is like hella just like, if it's not something that's popular, they're gonna give it a 6. Like trust me, that's what they do on that shit. And it's kind of most of the time it's not fairly rated, so I can understand why people say that one. Another one is the anime like called decent or bad by people? Because there are people that will call certain anime bad, but then you're actually watching, you'd be like, this is not as bad as like I thought it was. And then last one I've seen people talk about on why they would call anime underrated is if it only has one season. And that one right there, I don't agree with at all, because there's a lot of anime that have only one season that are hella popular. Look at No Game No Life. Look how popular No Game No Life is, and it only has one season. So yeah, because I literally watched a video that somebody like stitched of mine and was saying that they were saying like some type of anime that was super popular, and they were saying since it only had one season. I know they were talking about like how it was underrated because it only had one season, but then it's actually a popular anime. So I don't know. Those are some of the comments and some of the things I saw from like I took away from my video, and some of the comments and like either people that stitched the video. But that's getting my criteria on what I actually consider underrated anime. So I have like 3 things that I consider, like the 3 things I look at to consider if an anime is underrated. We'll go over those 3. Then after that, I'll go over some anime and we'll just discuss if these are underrated or not. And I'll give you like some of the ones I feel like are underrated and all that, and other ones that don't really fit in the middle. I go into all that gibberish out the way. Let's go into my first criteria of like how I decide if the anime is underrated. The first one I have is, how popular was it when it was airing? Now, this is a big one to me because there's a lot of anime that are older. People use this to call anime that are underrated. Most of the times, like when it's an older anime, they're call it underrated just because it's older. But there's a lot of anime that were hella popular when they were coming out. One, I'll give you an example for one. The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, that shit was hella popular when it came out. I mean, it's still popular today, but when that shit came out, it was crazy popular. I've seen people call it underrated, but it's like the popularity of it was kind of nuts when it came out. People were losing their mind over it. And then season 2 came out, and you know, season 2 had the same 8 episodes for a long time. But nowadays people realize the charm in them 8 episodes, I guess you could say. But yes, that's the first criteria I have. The second one I have is, how often is the anime brought up when somebody talks about the anime or makes a recommendation video? Now, that's another big one because there's a lot of people that make recommendation videos and they leave off certain anime and you wonder why. Maybe they haven't seen it. So like, there's always that too, because trust me, there's always hidden gems that people don't put on recommendations, or they don't talk about them. That's when you usually got to go to like somebody like Nebula JP on TikTok, and he literally gives some of the best underrated anime because he talks about anime that most people don't talk about. So there's always those, and that's like a big criteria for me. And then my third one is, what is the reception of the anime? Now, when it comes to this one, this really is a big one because I need to know, what does everybody think about this anime? So like, you look stuff up. Are there a lot of people talking about this anime? Do people generally think this anime is good? So this one just ties into the other two perfectly, because like this is like the final one, because it's just taking into account everything that anybody could say, and you're just wondering like, how do people generally feel about this? And those are like kind of like my 3 criteria. Yes, there's like hella more I should have, but those are the 3 main ones I could think of off the fly type of thing. Those are the only 3 I could realistically think of, especially when it comes to like how I would underrate an anime. But here's some examples of stuff. I already talked about the Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, but another one I could talk about that is interesting is Princess Principles. Now, the thing about Princess Principles is, over here I feel like it's kind of underrated, but at the same time, it's getting 6 movies. It already has 2 movies out, so like, how can I really say it's underrated? But then at the same time, you don't see that many people talking about it. So that's why I feel like it fits in that criteria of just like, not that many people talk about Princess Principles, but it still is popular. But at the same time, you gotta remember, when it comes to something being popular, you gotta count it like in your country, not outside of your country. Because there's stuff that's popular in Japan but not popular over here, and there's stuff that's popular where I live in the US that's not popular in Japan. So like, it always comes to like, what does your country think is popular, and like that type of thing, just because that's easier than just like trying to do like the whole world type of thing, because then you're doing way too much and trying to look at way too many different numbers and other things. But Princess Principal is an interesting one. I would consider it in the middle of, yes, it's underrated, but at the same time I could see somebody saying it's not underrated because like, it's getting 6 movies and 2 of the movies are already out, and it's getting a 3rd movie next year, and at that point it's kind of like, is it underrated or is it just underrated over here? And I would say yes and no. So that's one of the ones that's just in the middle. That's perfectly in the middle in my opinion. Now the next one would have to be Heaven's Memo Pad. Now Heaven's Memo Pad came out in 2011, and around that time in the season it came out, it's kind of weird. Like I said, when you look at old seasonal anime, sometimes it's kind of like interesting because like, it's way different than what it was now, because you know, we always had like a whole grip of like super hype shit that comes out each season. But like in 2011, in the season it came out in, I was trying to look up stuff to remember like if it was really popular or not. But Heaven's Memo Pad, in my opinion, is an underrated anime. It's not brought up a lot. I barely see that many people bring up this anime. Is it like, I don't like, I think the reception of this is like, most people that have seen it have said it's good, but I have really not seen this brought up on that many lists, unless it's somebody that just talks about anime that are like low-key. And in my opinion, Heaven's Memo Pad is a low-key anime that is underrated in my opinion, just because I don't see that many people talk about it. But at the same time, maybe I just haven't seen the right people. And you know, so you can also tell if something's really popular if you go on YouTube. If you go on YouTube and type up, you know, whatever anime you're looking for, if you don't see that many reviews for it, or if the reviews are like old, then you can usually tell something's underrated. Like, I'll give you one that's, I would say is underrated over here, is Paradise Kiss. But at the same time, Paradise Kiss is known for like all the people. If you've seen like Josei anime, then you know Paradise Kiss is a banger. But at the same time, I would really say Paradise Kiss is underrated, mainly because if you go on YouTube, there's not like a whole bunch of like people talking about it, and it's not one that people search up all the time. That's another thing. Like, if people are searching up, and that's one that's underrated because people don't search it up that much. Now, another one I will say is most definitely underrated is Amagi's Brilliant Park, mainly because It's one that if you've seen it, you know how good it is. Yes, it does have memes that have came from this anime, but at the same time, it's not brought up that much, in my opinion. I barely ever see anybody bring this up when it comes into comedy anime, because I don't see that many people bring it up, because like it's a hilarious anime. So I would consider this underrated, but like I said, we all have our own opinions. But let me know, how do you consider ranking anime when it comes to like something being underrated? Do you have a criteria? Does it like, just let me know in the comments, because I'm curious how other people think about it. Because like I said, I had those 3 right there, but trust me, there's so much more you could add. I just didn't want to add like a whole bunch of different criteria, because then it would have just been obnoxious, and that's me being hella nitpicky at that point. So I just wanted to put it down to just 3, and then I just chose like the easiest 3 that I thought would like work for like a criteria or whatever. But just let me know, how do y'all just consider underrated anime? Because I'm curious, because like I said, I've seen so many lists where people just, they're saying, yo, I want to talk about these underrated anime, and then they proceed to name everything that's popular. And it's always like, at that point, I'm looking at it like, is this just underrated because you haven't seen nobody talk about it, or you just are just calling this underrated because this is the first time you're trying a different genre? Because like there's some, because like I said, in that video I was talking about, they said Love is War, and I was looking like, dog, Love is War is not underrated. That shit is popular. Did you not see what season 3 was doing this year? Like, like I said, when I see stuff like that, I'm just like, either people are trolling, they realistically don't talk to other people that watch anime, or they don't look on the internet for anything. But it's like, the crazy thing was like, that creator was a way bigger creator, and it's like, how did you not know? I don't know. Sometimes I just feel like people just get out of a genre that they're usually in, and they just say, yo, I saw this anime for the first time, this shit has to be underrated, and they don't really look at some of the like background information, other type of things. But like I said, at the same time, all this shit is opinion based. But I mean, at the same time, if you like a show that's really, I would say, is factually like not underrated, something like Samurai Champloo, because everybody knows this is a classic. That and Cowboy Bebop, if you've been in the anime community, or even if you've seen anything, you know damn well those are not underrated, because they're literally classics. When it comes to classic anime, you know like how they are. Like I said, nobody can say Dragon Ball Z is underrated because it's been around for so long. It's hella popular. All these popular ones, you can't call that shit underrated. I said, you got to look at certain ones and be like, yeah, this is underrated. Like I said, just look and see how popular it was when it was airing. Like I said, take something like Konosuba. That shit is popular. Even when it was airing, it was popular. But I mean, now it's like hella popular. And literally, what, tomorrow we're literally about to get a fucking trailer for the Magami spinoff. So yeah, I don't know. Okay, I just had this little discussion. Like I said, I've been seeing this on TikTok a lot, and I just wanted to talk about it on my YouTube channel, because I know usually there's people on here with different minds, and I want to see what different people say. So just leave a comment. Just leave a comment down below, because I'm curious how other people feel about underrated anime and all that. But if you're new, why not subscribe, enjoy the video, why not like? If you did, you can dislike, subscribe, you really enjoyed. But just let me know what actually makes an anime underrated. Just let me know, what do you consider when like saying, yo, this anime is underrated and all that though. But yeah, I'm done going on this little tangent about like what actually makes an anime underrated, even though I feel like a lot of people realistically don't know what underrated anime is. It's just, they usually just be like, oh yeah, this has to be underrated, but then it turns out it's not. But I mean, a lot of this shit is just opinion based anyway. Like I said, there's a little facts to some stuff, but majority of it is just opinion based though. But thanks for watching. I'll see you next video though. Bye.